There's no doubt about it. In the past few years, things have really changed. Everywhere, at every level of society. Families, friends, travel, holidays, work, school, sport, entertainment, media, shopping, banking, technology, everything is transforming. Business leaders and entrepreneurs in particular are realizing they need to adapt, and then adapt again. How do you prepare to be a leader in such a rapidly shifting world? By learning how to make responsible, informed choices. By learning how to apply past experiences to brand new situations. At ESCP Business School, we provide our 8,000 students and 5,000 executives with knowledge about the most important economic, cultural, artistic, scientific, and political dimensions of our world. And we give them the tools they need to make good choices for themselves, for society, and for the world. With our European values and identity, we are the right choice for purpose-driven future leaders seeking academic excellence. Our program is unique, research-backed knowledge disseminated by international faculty at in-person and digital campuses across Europe. We offer a sustainable model and mindset, a focus on expertise, a commitment to innovation, and a multicultural, supportive, and inclusive community. Get the experiences you need to make the right choices going forward at ESCP.
Welcome, dear students. Are you excited? Yes. Good. All right, some formal addresses now. So, dear guest speakers, dear Professor Valerie Moti, who is the faculty dean and board member at EACP, at Paris level and Turin level as well. Dear students, dear colleagues, dear staff, welcome to the 2022 opening ceremony of the Turin Campus. This year, we are very proud to host 700 students on site, and let me be precise, 48 attending online. It is a great increase compared to last year. It is 14%. I'm very proud to tell you that since I've been Dean of the campus, 2013, every year we had a double-digit growth. And just to give you, the size of the magnitude of this growth, 5 years ago, we had less than half students that we have tonight and today in this very nice amphitheater. The other important information is that there are 59 different nationalities represented among you guys, and 62% are non-Italian. Moreover, 60% of the students in Turin right now are new students. So they just started their journey with the ACP right now. So my first address is to congratulate all of them because they made it to join this school. And they've been very excellent during the admission test. So congratulations. And welcome to ESCP. To those 60%, but also to the others, choosing a business school or a university is a very important decision. It's something that is quite difficult to revert. And it will make an impact, a great impact, on your professional career, but most importantly, on your personal life. Because the kind of bonds that you create here will stay forever. There will be long-lasting friendship, and there will be a safe harbor during your whole life. You will establish a network of contacts, of real contacts, okay, that you can always go to during your life. And trust me, you know, it's something that you will see it over time. I still have contacts with my university friends, even if we don't see each other for many years, you know. We still belong to the same alma mater. And this is what I wish to you, you know, to, of course, learn, study, have fun, because that's important, but to eventually create those bonds and ties that will stay forever. So again, before we start this opening with all the addresses and speeches, I want to congratulate all of you for entering the school, for making it to the second year, and you really deserve a big applause again. We now have a video message of our president of the Turin Campus, Professor Francesco Profumo, who could not be here because he's in Venice hosting a conference, but he wanted to welcome you and give his address to all of you. So now I think we can put his video on.
Dear students, welcome to ESCP Business School in Torino. The opening ceremony of the new academic year is always a unique opportunity for exchange between managers and students, the future leaders of tomorrow. This event perfectly embodies our business school's traditional close collaboration with important international and innovative companies and institutions that believe and invest in the new generations. The theme we wanted to reflect on and make people think about this year is the choice, transformation, and adaptation. I want to thank our guest speakers who have enthusiastically agreed to come here on this occasion to address this theme from their point of view and to share their thoughts with us, recounting anecdotes and bringing testimonies that can be an inspiration to our young talents, born in a world where every certainty can collapse, yet steadfast in the values of inclusiveness and self-determination. We are grateful to have you here. Thank you for sharing your ideas and experiences with the ESCP community. Dear student, you are about to begin a course of study that will change your lives, personally and professionally. The pandemic, the conflict in Ukraine, the impact of the war on commodity prices, and the instability of the global geopolitical scene are marking and have already marked the lives of all of us. All of these events have led us to question processes, habits, and choices that seemed to be ingrained, bringing uncertainty, but also a great desire to get involved to make a difference. We believe that in a world defined by economics, the business and entrepreneurial sphere can play a central role in redirecting global development. For ESCP, it's essential to nurture and support a new generation of responsible leaders capable of thriving in times of uncertainty and volatility, capable of tackling the technological, environmental, and social challenges of today and tomorrow. ESCP was founded more than 200 years ago by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. Innovation, transformation, and pioneering approaches are part of the school's DNA. Your choice to study in the international and multicultural environment of ESCP is a stepping stone in your future career and personal development. Allow yourself to make the most of what ESCP can offer you, not only from an educational and professional point of view, but above all, from a human perspective. This academic year will be full of exciting and sometimes tough challenges. You will meet new people and have unique and intense experiences. You will train through an interdisciplinary approach, merging theory and practice. But foremost, I hope it will be a great year of exceptional growth for you from every point of view. ESCP is more than a business school. It's a community. It's a living and growing family. It's rich in diversities of talents from all nationalities and backgrounds. We are glad to welcome you into the ESCP family, which develops into a more committed, inclusive, and ambitious community year after year. Welcome to the ESCP Turin Campus. I wish you the best of luck in this essential new chapter of your life. Thank you.
Dear students, so the topic of today is transformation and adaptation, as our president was introducing. And it comes after a string of other very relevant topics that we touched in the previous years, such as innovation, sustainability, and choice. But I want to delve a little bit on the concept of transformation and adaptation. They both refer to the process of change. Okay? But they're very different in terms of motivation and approach. So adaptation is generally involves a change of something in response to something else. It's like a reaction or an anticipation of new condition. For instance, we're all very aware of the most pressing topics that managers had to face in the past years, which were pretty much putting out fires while facing social, environmental, health, economic, geopolitical crises one after the other. This led to practice and perfecting the art of fast adaptation, which is pretty much needed for managers. But if we look at transformation, it's a completely different thing. It involves changing from something into something else that is fundamentally different. Transformation can be incremental or sudden, but it always goes beyond business as usual. And this creates pushbacks or resistance, especially when you challenge the status quo. See, for example, how difficult it is to implement real sustainable practices that go beyond pure greenwashing. So, in sum, adaptation is a response to change. Transformation is generative of change. Although we need both adaptation and transformation, and we've seen it, you know, we've been through a cycle of many adaptation, I think that we should really recognize that deliberate transformation may in fact be the only choice that managers have to answer today's world of constant changes. We call it a world of unprecedented times. The problem is that we have every year or every month something that was unforeseen. The topic of transformation is so relevant that I happened to read no more than 10 days ago a very interesting article on Harvard Business Review in which 8 scholars were asked about how management will transform in the next years. And we're very proud that among those 8, one is a professor of ESCP. He's actually Professor Frédéric Fréry. Maybe you will meet him if you go to study in Paris. And they were answering to this question in the following ways. So first thing is that we will go from static corporate structure and practices that have been very effective so far to value-driven fluid organization led by empathic leaders. It sounds like very new, very different, okay? Second thing is that we will move from the art of war, and I can tell you when I was studying business strategy, the art of war, Sun Tzu, was a manual that we had to study, okay, to the art of seduction, aimed at attracting new customers and making them happy by understanding what they really need. So from a confrontation, from business seen as conquering territories, to seducting customers. The other thing that was pointed out is that we will move from a centralized approach aimed at economy of scales, at efficiency, to a decentralized approach, where local and decentralized decision will cater for a specific and customized answer to customer needs. Another important thing that was striking me is that we will move from performance organization to talent retaining organization. So manager will be measured not only on their performance, but on how good they are at retaining talents, people like you. Of course, we will move from a 9-to-5, 5 days a week way of organizing work to a completely smart and flexible work environment. Then we will see that what has been always a fight, a trade-off to manage in the capitalistic world among all the stakeholders and normally favoring shareholders will be transformed into a more cooperative approach, where all the stakeholders will work together, will have the same aim, and therefore they will all win. This will be enabled by new technology. In the US, there's been always an issue of trade union busting. There are a lot of news that you read about it. I don't want to mention any company, but trade workers are not properly represented. And the idea is that in the future, workers and employers will be viewed as contributors and co-creators more than it is done now. And finally, scientific management will be definitely ditched. And we will move to new management practices that will balance efficiency, of course, with employee dignity and well-being. It is a big change because on the surface, management has adapted a lot, but now will transform very quickly into something else. And I truly believe that you will play an important role into that. Because the young generation are the one that can really embody the transformation. for many obvious reasons. First of all, for most of you, it will be the first time that you will be managing something once you finish their studies. So you can do things in ways that were not possible before, just because it's the first time you're doing it, and you're going to be creative. You're going to do it your own way. And I'm sure that you will help to foster true social, environmental, and economic progress for the benefit of the whole mankind and not of the few lucky ones. Today, our 4 guest speakers and partners, Davide Bolati, President and owner of Davines Group, Alice Covellizza, alumna of the MEAN program and Chief Business Officer of Italy Everly, Maurizio Martina, Deputy Director General, Food and Agriculture Organization and former Italian Minister of Agriculture, and Teodoro Lio, Senior Managing Director and Partner at Accenture, will give you their take on transformation and adaptation, and how these change processes had an impact on their organization, their clients, stakeholders at large. I want to thank all of them for their commitments toward the school, for taking the time to be here and sharing their experience, their knowledge, and let me say, also their wisdom. Before we move on, I'd like to call on stage Professor Valerie Moti, so she can give her welcome to all of you, and also bring the welcome of the federal ESCP organization. Thank you.
So first of all, good afternoon. Welcome and congratulations. Welcome to the Turin Campus. Welcome to ESCP. And then I'm very happy to be with you, and thank you, Francesco, for inviting me. Actually, I'm representing actually the federal team, as I'm part of it, but following Francesco's advice, I will speak today more about my career development to give you some advices, hopefully, for your future, and I'm sure you are in the right place to build everything you need. And you will discover that months after months, day after day. So, first of all, 30 years ago, I was starting my career after graduating from ESCP. This means that 40 plus years ago, I was exactly in your shoes, though the Turin Campus did not exist at that time, but I was also starting a journey at ESCP. Let me come back to a few steps in that. Since then, don't worry, I won't talk about everything because it's quite long. So after an additional year in research and art studies to accomplish myself personally, I first decided to join Procter & Gamble, so a worldwide leading manufacturer of consumer goods, as a junior assistant in charge of laundry brands budget management. I stayed there over 7 years. I had several jobs. I changed almost every year. I was promoted several times. And among them, I tried more and more to bring about what I really wanted to work on. Among different missions, I heard that P&G was buying a small German company called at that time VP Schickedanz, and I really wanted to participate in that new adventure, so I positioned myself in that, and I was in charge in integrating that company into P&G France at the time. So it was very enriching, so difficult also. During that time, I learned a lot about the cultural gap between a small, mid-sized European company and a big American company. I learned a lot in terms of a gap in management practices and processes. I experienced resistance from the the acquired company management team. I met great people along the way, but it was, again, a very enriching experience. After 7 years at P&G, I decided that it was time to get a new challenge, and I took the opportunity to work for the headquarters of a French company, which was a retailer at the time called PPR, which became Kering. Gucci and Saint Laurent were already part of the company, but I was more in charge of the business development for PPR and the venture capital unit of the company. I joined the strategic unit at the time of the emergence and the development of e-commerce, e-business, and I invested in a few startups for PPR, which became Kering. This was another very enriching experience, meeting a lot of great entrepreneurs, learning about new business models, disruptive innovation, and betting on the future. Despite the excitement of this position, I decided again, after 2 years, to jump into another challenge and to follow a PhD, so to go back to school. I have chosen to do a high-level PhD at HEC at that time. I wanted to become an academic as I was very passionate about teaching. Actually, since I left the school, I was regularly called by my professors from ESCP to contribute to their class, and I really loved that, and that's the main reason, beyond some personal reasons, that I wanted to go back to academia and become a professor. It may be also an invitation for you, once you graduated, to come back and contribute to teaching at ESCP. In 5 years, I completed my PhD on the relative performance impact of M&As, alliances, and organic growth, while teaching at ESCP in parallel. I also had a third child at that time, and I became a faculty member, a permanent faculty member of ESCP in 2005. I developed areas of research on the strategy of growth, as I said, but also in sustainable supply chain management, and also teaching. I later on developed a chair on fashion and technology and related teaching on that. And year after year, I was more happy to meet new students, to teach them, and also to develop research on topics that really matters to me. After 12 years as a fulfilled academic at ESCP, I decided again it was time for a new challenge, and I also wanted to contribute differently to the school. And that's why I applied and was elected as the Dean of Faculty by all ESCP permanent faculty members from all campuses. I did a first mandate and was re-elected in 2020. And I feel that in the past 5 years, I combined my business background with my academic background. I learned a lot from the ExCom members, the board members, and more than anything else from my dear professors, colleagues. Some of them from Turin are in the room, and I'm sure you have already seen that, but they are all amazing. They are brilliant, they are experts in their fields, they are doing impactful research, they are recognized as key experts. You mentioned, Francesco, that we are proud that Frederic Freri is appearing in a very recent Harvard Business Review article, but regularly, if you are cautious, you will notice that a lot of professors are talking on TV, in the press, so that's every day enriching to be with them and to be stimulating. They are all amazing. And they are also building their field and the common knowledge for a better society, and specifically very engaged into climate change and other important topics for the future of the society and of business. I'm talking to you as an alumna, as I said, of the school, as an active woman who have redesigned, as I said, her career several times, but also as a wife and a mother of 3 young adults too. And I would like reflecting back from my experience, to give you 3 main advices coming from all these experiences, professional experience, but also balancing personal and professional life. So the very first one for me is always follow your passion. I mean, you will be much better, much more impactful and obviously motivated if you do what you really like. When you feel that you're not on the right path, you're getting bored, when you wake up in the morning, you're not so happy to come to work, probably it's time to step back and find another challenge that really motivates you. And as you are ESCP students, we will teach you how to learn all the time, and I'm sure that along your career, you will be eager to learn continuously. So once you notice that you're not learning enough or anymore, maybe it's time to change and to go out of your comfort zone and to find another challenge. So that's my first advice. The second one is, the more I work and the more I realize that everything at the end of the day is about people, human relationship. You can do much more when you are working with people you respect, you admire, and of course it's not always possible, but I'm sure when you will select your first job, having a good feeling with the people you're going to work with is a key element of your choice. And more generally, working with people and helping people to develop themselves is one of the biggest satisfaction in your career and in your job. And beyond that, also listening to people. Maybe it's obvious, but learning how to listen to people, to understand what they really want, it will be much more impactful later on, because, you co-build with them, and also it's a proof of respect that they are counting. And constructive, collective construction is about every success. And last but not least, set up priorities and ambitious goals. So it's whether it is in your personal life, in your professional development, or at the interface between the two, it's key that you are always in line with where you want to go, and you're clear on that, and you don't lose yourself into details. It's very easy, because when you are very busy, tired, it's difficult to step back and to say, well, that's not really where I want to go. And believe me, when I decided to leave my dream, somehow a dream job at caring, to go back to school, losing any social status because I was becoming a student again at 30 years old, and without no guarantee about the future, no salary. It was not an easy decision, but I was totally sure that it was the right one and motivated. And I think it's good in general, even in business, making decisions, sticking to them. There will always be trade-offs, but once you take it, go for it, stick to it. So that's really key. So once you do all that, being with the right people, respecting them, working well with them, follow your passion and set up priorities, you can follow for sure very ambitious goals. So my last advice, which is taking everything together, is, remember what Oscar Wilde wrote: shoot for the moon, and even if you meet it, you will land on the stars. So I wish you the best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Valerie, for sharing your transformative journey. I didn't know all the details, but I know you were in business before joining academia, but impressive and interesting, a good example. And now I call Davide Bolati, and he will share his take on transformation. You will learn from him many interesting stories. His company is a champion of sustainability, a B Corp. So please.
Thank you, everybody. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here. I try to share my tips for you in this phase of your career. Congratulations to ESCP for the title of the day, because choice, transformation, and adaptation is a very good title to reflect on it. So when it comes to choice, we are all different. We all have different attitudes, different desires or characters. But in today's world, I think that the choice becomes a bit easier now than 20, 30 years ago, when you had to start your career. We are in a situation where there are certain, let's say the corridor is a bit narrower, so it's easier to set your journey and your direction. Let me start a little bit with some personal, and then I go with more on business, and then I close up on sustainability. When it comes to personal choice, I'm second generation. I started in the family business. It was a very small business when I joined. After some international experience in study, I was one of at the beginning of the Erasmus program. So I am proud to say that I'm an Erasmus entrepreneur in a way. So you're already making the right choice to choose a career that in every year will put you in a different country. You are already ahead of the game. You are learning different languages. You are experiencing different culture. That will give you a big advantage in the rest of your life. It's one of these game changers. You already made the right decision, so you're already on a good direction on this one. So my motivation, the choice of joining the company was more because I thought that my previous generation needed some help. It was natural for me to join, because I thought that I could make the difference. It was a way to give back to my parents. So it was a very harmonious decision. And I was lucky because then I found the passion. Beauty industry is a great industry to be in. I prepared for that. I studied pharmacy. So on this one, it was an easy choice. Then when the business develops, then the career develops, you go through different phases of life, sometimes your motivations change. At the beginning, the motivation was to grow the business, was to grow regardless, almost at all cost. And then certain things happen. At that point, it was a kind of like a crisis in the company. It was an episode of unloyalty in the company. And it was kind of shocking. We didn't expect it. We were very sad. And then at that time, we started to reflect on the reason why we are in business, why we were doing things. The why we do things was very important. So we hired a philosopher, a philosophical counselor. We did a lot of work with this, trying to ask ourselves why we were doing what we were doing and how we were doing it. And then we put together a very strong chart of ethics. We defined the values, what we stand for, what we wanted to achieve in business. And from there, it became much easier. So we did a lot of research on eudaimonia. search for happiness. Happiness is a big word. We can spend all day to talk about happiness, the etymology of the word. Happiness or felicità in the Anglo-Saxon word, it means something. In the Latin word, it means something else. The roots are very different. But then we explore also the fact that you have different types of happinesses. The Aristotelic one is eudaimonia. It's a journey of self-realization with no shortcuts. It's a long journey. Other type of happiness that is a little bit more hedonistic, it's kind of like a shortcut. You can be happy when you eat a nice ice cream or when you win the lottery or things like that. But when it comes to happiness, along your journey, along your life, it's better to go for eudaimonia than for hedonistic happiness. So in business, it means no shortcuts. It means to have a purpose that is very precise, especially when you have, and again, in this moment, it's easier. Why it's easier? Well, because we know the demography, we are 8 billions, we will be 10 billions in the next maybe 2 decades. We know every day we know the level of CO2 happening in the world. We can check on Google. Every day, Mauna Loa Hawaii Observatory, you see exactly today what is the level of CO2. That means what is the level of global warming, what are the consequences of everything we live. We know it, I don't have to go too much through it. Club of Rome 50 years ago said it exactly what is happening today. After 50 years, we are exactly where we were projected to be 50 years ago. Go check Club of Rome if you don't know what it is. And so now, when it comes to choice, it's easier because it's very important to, I think, make, in any business you're going to be, I think it will make a difference also when for like long-term happiness to have the right purpose to to help human being to transition to a more harmonic way of living the planet. Ecology and economy now have been, they turn around completely. Before economy was at service of ecology, now it's totally the opposite. We know GDP is dead, and we need to redefine the whole scope of business. We became a B Corp in 2016. We learn how to measure every single impact we do. Sometimes trying to minimize, sometimes trying to compensate, or sometimes to even regenerating. It depends on the different type of the materialities. It depends on the type of impacts that you have. When you have this type of direction, I think you have success, almost success guaranteed at the moment, because every single business needs a big transformation. Right now, yes, the world changes every day. Even our company changes every day. When I started the business, we were doing 1 million a year. Today, we make 1 million per day, except for holidays and weekends. So you have certain things that change a lot, but certain things don't change. They don't have to change. It's the purpose of doing our best for the world, generating good life for all, almost all, through beauty, ethics, and sustainability. When you have a strong purpose, then you can apply it, and you can every day fine-tune and do better in what you do. For example, when it comes to sustainability, we have big pillars like decarbonization, with lots of projects on decarbonization. Another big pillar is biodiversity, with projects in there. And another big one is circularity. So in each one of them, there are dozens of projects. And the idea of not taking shortcuts, of not always have short-term objectives, that is one of the biggest mistakes in general, well, biggest, I don't know, but because there are some people that are doing very good business in short-term goals, especially the whole stock exchange business works on it. But I think that when it comes to eudaimonia, and we know that there are studies that we know that money doesn't buy happiness. Therefore, I don't think this is the right way to, if we think that happiness in terms of self-realization is a decent goal to look for in our life, I think that short-termism in business doesn't help to achieve, this bigger goal. So, out of time.
Thank you, Davide. I like a lot that you say that now it's easy to take decision. Of course, it's easy when you know exactly where you want to go. I mean, it's you reach this through a lot of transformation, through pain, of course. But I like your speech because most of the time, we dwell a lot on the difficulties rather than, okay, this is what it's happening now, but let's move let me say, the time ahead, and let's put time into perspective of management, not short term, but long term. Then it's easy. We know, if you know where you want to go, personally as well, then decision become easier. It takes some time, but good. And then you went from 1 million to a year, to 1 million a day. It means that when you have a purpose, then results will follow. And they go hand in hand, as you said. Okay, thank you so much. So now I call on stage Alicia Koverlitsa. She's an alumna, as I said before, and she will share her experience. We were chatting a little bit before. She was sitting not in this very nice auditorium, but in your same shoes a few years ago. She will tell you, but she has a lot of maybe she won't, but she will share with you guys her journeys, her transformation, and piece of advice since she was in your shoes a few years ago, let's say like that.
Thank you, Francesco, first and foremost for the kind intro. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm incredibly grateful to be here, and I wanted to join everyone else in congratulating you to, first thing, having made it so far. You're now part of the ESCP family, not a family you were born into, but definitely you will see a family you will grow into. The theme of the day is transformation, adaptation, and change. The ability to transform is embedded in our DNA. Think about any of the reproduction of the Neanderthal men's and women's, how they looked like. They had big eyes, thick hair to kind of adapt to the cold weather and darkness. Take a mirror, look at yourself. We're quite different, right? So it works. We know how to do it. I hope by sharing some anecdotes, I'm also going to give you some tips and some of my learnings of how to be prepared for it. So 2015, after 4 years in eBay, global business, at a moment of the spin-off between eBay and PayPal, I decided to leave the business and join Wahanda, lately became Treatwell, which was a 70-people business just in the UK. I had many people, family, friends, colleagues asking me why, kind of implying that it was the wrong choice. And I could stand here telling you a fantastic story into I perfectly knew what I wanted to do. That's why, in reality, I had no clue. I just wanted to have a change. And right away, when I joined the business, I also wanted to make an impact. I I had the idea of coming from a big business, big corporation, global, joining a small business, and I hit the wall. And it was incredibly painful. I remember the first months really starting doubting my decision. I was like, what's going on? Why I can do what I wanted to do? Why I can't add value? And the reality was that I knew very little of what running a startup with business constraints meant. I was used to work in a global business where we were flying to the US and back. Didn't know how to make a P&L run by the end of the month. And also the decisions and the proposals I had were way more complex for the business. They were too expensive, they were too complex, they were not right for a business that needed to move much, much faster. So the aha moment came the second that I realized that it wasn't just me needing to transform or wanting to transform, but the business that year grew from 1 country into 10. So the business was changing, had to change the speed. People around me had to change. And that second I realized that possibly would have been okay if I didn't bring any impact that year. And the most active behavior I performed was the one of listening. So first 6 months I said, you know what, I'm going to sit down and listen and it's going to be okay. I ended up staying 5 years at the business, living with long life friends and managing different projects and kind of bringing with me bags of experience. So you will possibly experience in your kind of next years moving from a big company to a small, different industries, different maturity, different size. Be resilient, be patient. It might be painful at times. It doesn't mean you're in the wrong path. Just give yourself time. We're all used to loads websites, and if they don't load fast enough, move somewhere else. But we're still humans. Like, we went from Neanderthal woman to what we are now. It took a fair amount of time. Give yourself the time to transform and to adapt, and let others also adapt to you. So this is kind of my first learning. Sometimes, though, external factors change us and force us to transform. Let's not talk about years and years ago, but let's talk about the last 20 years. 20 years we've seen climate change posing global threats. We've seen wars. We've seen economical crisis. Smartphones weren't a thing 20 years ago, and this is just to name a few. I will love to go back to January 2020. I was in London and I joined DICE, a platform that connects fans and music events, as the VP of Global Expansion. What it meant that I was supposed to enjoy, go around, have loads of parties, going to the US, Australia, and had the challenge to launch 50 new cities in 9 countries in a space of a year. Fast forward 2 months is March 2020, COVID hit, hey-oh, no revenues, music is not a thing anymore, and we move into survival mode. The business kind of moved quickly into streaming music. It wasn't a thing none of us knew anything about, and we really kind of like tried to keep the business alive. For startups and grown-ups and scale-ups, it's very important, as always, to kind of like be attractive for investors. And mid of 2021, we closed a Series C of $100 million. Now, on a personal note, those 18 months have been incredibly challenging. I imagine for all of us, but I had back then a 2.5-year-old toddler working from home, worrying about family and loved ones, obviously with COVID, trying to keep a team together and also protect them from the headwind we were seeing at the business. So all of this taught me that we need to focus on today also. So after 14 years abroad, my husband and I decided to move back to Italy and join Everly. Everly is active in the e-grocery market, and for me, it was fantastic because when I left Italy, there was no tech ecosystem or tech businesses, and I could come back and contribute to it and help growing it. Then Think for a second of the e-grocery. So e-grocery, what COVID did to that, it literally accelerated by 2-3 years. And for Everly, what it meant that the site was crashing because we had thousands times the traffic that we were used to have. We had to take care of all the shoppers that were delivering the groceries because we were worried for their safety with COVID. Teams were working remotely, some already were, but everyone for the first time. And in this context, when I joined, pretty much a year into COVID, it was visible that the team had put a lot of energy for a long period of time. And growth was fantastic, but it brought challenges. Main challenge, the euphoria in the market. You might have seen it, loads of newcomers, and quick commerce is a thing, and every single retailer wants to launch their own platform. And this obviously was great from a customer perspective, but it also dragged the market. And in this sense, Everly, alongside being reactive to change, had to make sure that the growth was not coming back as a boomerang effect of going back to where we were the 2-3 years before and continue growing on that. So the last 2 years, we worked on the fundamentals to make sure that we were keeping that growth and really being able, and this is even more true now, to build a business model which is sustainable for all the actors in the chain and not just for one. I just gave you 2 examples which are in a way impacted by the same event, COVID, but reacted to it in a completely different ways because for one, COVID has been a headwind, for the other one has been a tailwind. And I can tell you what I've seen in both type of circumstances has been incredible focus, the passion to prioritize ruthlessly. So it was like, no, it's still 3 things on the list. Let's scrap one. And still a need, because I think this is ultimately a very human need in a period of uncertainty, of thinking long term. So we still had a vision, we still knew what we wanted to do in both circumstances. So here for me, the learning for you is, don't expect the change snowball of kind of vanishing. Actually gets bigger. The more change you have, the more it gets bigger until you incorporate the change. Whether it is a new way of working, whether it is changing where you live, how you do it, like the setup. But at that point, it's when everything kind of comes together. And there isn't really like a professional change that doesn't impact your personal change and so on and so forth. It's kind of like a domino effect. So the beauty of transforming is that you can't do it in silos. It's a kind of magic art where you need to continue balancing things all the time. Before I close up, I want to give you a final anecdote, which would have made everything I share for the last 10 minutes completely different. So I go back to kind of who I am. I love numbers, I love mechanisms, I'm curious, I like to understand things. And for me, when I joined SAP, the kind of natural thing was a finance degree. And I joined an investment banking through rotation program. And my boss supposed to take me out for lunch to sign the contract for the next year when I've finished the studies. And he opened up at lunch. I still remember my hamburger in front of me. And it was like, you know, the tech industry is going to be booming. It's a fantastic place to be. It's going to grow. You're going to have exposure to tons of things. And I was like, where is this conversation going? And for me here is, the real advice is 6 months later, I was joining eBay in Paris. So at times, don't be scared. You're not going to know what you want to do. But start today in looking out for someone who really cares for your development and open up. And find someone who can be your mentor, who can support. And I think with this, I think you're in the right place. Here at SAP, starting from professors and obviously everything you're going to be exposed to, but also look at the person close to you. It could be your business partner in a few years. It could be your best friend, could be your husband. So really challenge each other, help each other. I know it might sound strange to think about it right now, but it's what we will see each other in 10 years. You're going to tell me. In the meantime, enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you, Alice. Well, we have many anecdotes about MIM and, bachelor, not yet, but they will come. But MIM students marrying, so don't worry, you know. I know it was a little bit of a cold shower, but it happens a lot. And no, it was very interesting story of adaptation that led to radical transformation, and this is exactly spot on the topic of today. Now we have a video from Maurizio Martina, former Minister of Agriculture, Italian Minister of Agriculture, and now is Deputy Director at the Food and Agriculture Organization. I asked the direction to go. Okay, fantastic.
I'm very grateful to the chance today to be here. I'm glad that this year's theme is transformation and adaptation. Transformation and adaptation are very common words in FIO. We need to transform our agri-food systems. We need to implement adaptation measures to address climate change. Recent shocks, from COVID to the conflict in Ukraine, and including the impact of climate change, clearly indicate that the food system must be reshaped. Our agri-food systems are not delivering the food security and nutrition outcomes we want to achieve. Undernourishment remains very high, while obesity grows in rich countries in particular. Current projections estimate that more than 650 million people may still hungry in 2030. But we know where we need to be by 2030. Undernourishment has to be reduced everywhere to a maximum of 5%. Healthy diet have to be affordable for all. Overweight has to be reduced everywhere to level of 15%. Obesity needs to be reduced to no more than 5% in any countries. Poverty and inequalities must be reduced. And for the planet, we need to achieve carbon and land degradation neutrality, increase the efficiency in the use of water, in particular in agriculture. We need to hit the Paris Agreement target of reducing emissions, to limit global climate warming to between 1.5 and 2.0 degrees Celsius. To get to where we need to by 2030, we must focus on transforming our agri-food systems because they are the largest economic system measured in terms of employment, livelihoods, and planetary impact. But we are also the largest contributors to poverty and inequalities. To transform agri-food system so that they are more resilient, more inclusive, more sustainable, we need action in multiple sectors. This is why FIO applies 4 cross-selectional accelerators in all our programmatic interventions: technology, innovation, data, and complements, governance, human capital, and institutions. Emerging technologies are already changing the food and agricultural sector. We need to help farmers take full advantage of new technologies such as digital agriculture, biotechnologies, precision agriculture, and artificial intelligence. Innovation is a central driving force for achieving a world free from hunger and malnutrition. Innovation and science, including social innovations, policy innovations, institutional innovations, financial innovation, and technological innovation are important drivers affecting food and agriculture production and distribution process. Data, especially big data on food, agriculture, socioeconomic, natural resources, can help strengthen evidence-based decision-making in the food and agricultural sector. For example, by improving agricultural water productivity or fertilizer efficiency. Complements refer to the needed governance, human capital, and institution to assure an inclusive agri-food system transformation. Transformative process require a stronger, more transparent and accountable institution and governance. And I would like to add a special mention to youth. We count on the dedication, passion, and contribution of youth. Talented and committed students that want to become international civil servants. We count on you to contribute to changing FIO's work culture to be people-centered, transparent, accountable, dynamic, engaged, and ethical. Transformation and adaptation need extraordinary actions. Extraordinary should apply to all our actions, from strategic thinking to concrete actions. So, I encourage all of you to start this year with extraordinary commitment and extraordinary effort that are required to achieve extraordinary results. Thank you very much.
I now call Teodoro Leo, Senior Managing Director at Accenture. As you know, Accenture is a firm heavily involved in helping thousands of organizations completing their transformation journey. So I'm sure he will have a lot of story to share with you. And then maybe at the end we will share some other story, but they're more personal. No, you're
Thank you. Thank you, Francesco, and good afternoon, everyone. Well, let me maybe start from a personal anecdote, since, and I'm not going to go husband and wife, don't worry. Since you, at the beginning, you said to your students that these are years where you meet people that you will meet as a friend for life, well, that is true. I mean, it's like I'm here because Accenture is proud to be supporting ESCP, but I'm here also because we met with Francesco on the university desks a few years ago, just when Alice was studying, probably, and we are happy to be here together again. Now, back to the topic. We talk transformation and adaptation today, and no topic could be more relevant these days with everything that is happening in the world. And I'm not going to list the 7 plagues that, I mean, everyone is very well aware of what is happening in the world over the past few years. Despite all of this, or actually I believe because of all of this, transformation continues to happen. And actually transformation happens faster than ever. We talk about compressed transformation. We talk about compressed transformation because transformation is not happening anymore in a sequential way in the world, in the business world, in companies, but it's happening everything at the same time. Companies used to transform one function at a time, one program at a time, maybe starting from a country and then moving to scale. Today, increasingly, what we see happening in the world is the request for what we call really compressed. I mean, they are transforming their products, connecting them to the internet, while they are transforming their channel and making e-commerce the main contact point with the customer, while they are revolutionizing marketing to go only digital, while they are transforming back office to achieve efficiency. And all of these happen in parallel at the same time. And why? Why is this happening so fast? It's happening so fast because they realize the impact the transformation can have, driven by the forces of technology and talent transformation that are changing the world today. As Accenture, we ran a research just before the pandemic to understand the different impact of the companies that were launching big transformation, investing big in transformation versus the one who were not. And guess what? The leaders, so the 10% who were investing more in transformation, were performing twice better than the laggards, the 25 bottom percent, twice as fast. Then we launched the same, we wanted to retest the same concept 12 months after the pandemic, or well, actually in the middle of the second wave of the pandemic. Same test, the different results, because at this time the leaders are performing 5 times better than the laggards. So the gap is widening. The gap is widening. And that's why companies are investing big time and even more than in the past in transformation and in compressed transformation, because actually there are two kinds of companies. The leaders who want to capitalize on their leadership and want to widen the gap, and the laggards, or at least some of the laggards, who want to leapfrog the leaders and take advantage of technology, talent, and transformation to gain a different spot. And this is exciting because this is a great opportunity, this transformation, to actually create value, and that's what companies are for. Now, let me pause and introduce a second concept, and I only have 3, don't worry. The second concept is, when we say value in 2022, we don't mean just financial value, but the expression we use is 360-degree value. 360-degree value because value creation today means making sure we do the right things for all the different stakeholders. And some of this value continues to remain financial, top line, bottom line. You're going to learn all this stuff over the next few years if you don't already. But a lot of this is around the financial side, and it's about creating capabilities for the future, creating talent, improving the capability to be inclusive, including improving the way a company or organization is diverse and is leveraging diversity as an asset. And the area in particular where I would like to stress one more minute is about being more sustainable. Being more sustainable is a value by itself in the world today. And it's a value by itself for a number of reasons. Well, first of all, sustainability is a duty that we have to the planet, and it's a duty we have to the future generation, to you, basically. Because we want and we need to leave. I think we all came to the conclusion that we need to leave to the next generation a planet that is in a better shape than what we got. And that's about sustainability, making sure whatever we do goes into a sustainable way. And that's the first reason, and it's a great purpose to have, honestly. But together with this, I think every company is realizing today that being sustainable is a good business opportunity. Because being sustainable means reinventing yourself, means transforming, means investing, means creating job opportunities, means it's going to mean a lot for you. I'm sure that in a few years from now, many of you will find their job, their career, their future in helping the world becoming more sustainable in a way or another. And there can be multiple ways, from the World Food Organization to a company which you would never expect this to come from. What we believe, and this is for my second message together with the compressed transformation, my second message is about every business is going to be a sustainable business. 10 years ago, we said every business is going to be a digital business. And today the digital revolution is here. I mean, it's like, it's a fact that no one is challenging. Today we say every business is going to be a sustainable business, and we mean it, and we mean it. And the business outside mean it. And now the third message for you, that in order to execute this compressed transformation in very uncertain times, in order to build the sustainable businesses of the future, we need the leaders of the future. And we need a different kind of leaders, if you want. We need leaders who are humble enough to know that they don't know, and therefore eager to learn, eager to listen, open to different perspectives. And at the same time, leaders who are courageous and brave enough to take decisions and to keep those decisions and to execute and to make sure they are so powerful and so inspiring to bring others with them. These are the kind of leaders we need, and are leaders who are empathic, who are fast learner, who are supportive of inclusion and diversity, and these are the leaders that will shape the future of tomorrow, and that's why we wait for all of you guys. We wait for you. Meanwhile, have fun.
Thank you, Theo. Okay, so it's very good to hear that a company, a firm the size of Accenture is seeing the future like every business is going to be a sustainable business, because you helped the previous transformation, and actually, you know, now every business is a digital business. So I wish all the businesses, all the consultancy firms that are engaged heavily in helping companies and organizations to become sustainable businesses, because we need to be sustainable. Well, 10 years, I would be happy already, you know, because it's a tough call, but it's a very difficult challenge. But yes, with young leaders like you guys, maybe we can make it. And I really share the optimism that you had. And because it's coming from facts and from the business and from the consulting practices. So while we're approaching the end of this ceremony, I ask all the guest speakers to come closer to here for a picture. We take a picture all together. We're going to be turning our back. Sorry, it's not really polite, but we like to take picture with all of you in the backs. Okay. Stay there. Don't move. Don't move. We're not at the end. Stay there.
Where do you want us to put?
Okay. All right. So we really are at the end, and as a token of appreciation of the time spent with us and with you guys, we have, let me say, a little present for all our guests today. Thank you so much. And now we're really at the end. So I join all the speakers, all the guests, in wishing you all the best for this year and for your life. And we have a small reception downstairs. So enjoy the reception, enjoy the academic year.